This is PainMD.tv, the invisible invasion. Why your wear and tear may actually be an infection. We've been told the same lie for decades. Your pain is just wear and tear. Your discs are drying out because you're getting older. But at the Padda Institute, we view pain as a signal, not a diagnosis. What if your spine isn't just degenerating? What if it's colonized? Lower back pain is often a metabolic crisis. We see a direct correlation between NAFLD, viscerogenic obesity, and the breakdown of your spinal architecture. Insulin resistance is the primary driver. It creates a state of systemic meta-inflammation that compromises the disc's ability to resist bacterial invasion. There is a profound link between gut dysbiosis and disc dysbiosis. When your gut barrier is compromised, bacterial byproducts migrate to your weakest points. Lipopolysaccharides act as molecular triggers. They bind to toll-like receptor 4 in the disc cells, initiating a localized cytokine storm that degrades the matrix. In NAFLD, the liver becomes a factory for systemic inflammation. This constant flux of cytokines ensures the disc remains in a state of metabolic stress. Viscerogenic obesity isn't passive storage, it's metabolically active tissue. It pumps out adipokines that further sensitize your spinal nociceptors. These inflammatory signals activate the JAK-STAT and NR2B NMDAR pathways, leading to chronic allodynia and hypersensitivity to pain signals. We must analyze the biological soil. We look at LDL, particle size, TNF-alpha, and advanced glycation end products to find the root of the breakdown. I'm performing a forensic audit on why 34% of patients have an active biological war zone inside their spines, driven by this metabolic mismatch. Cutibacterium acnes, the skin breakout bacteria, is hiding in 1 out of every 3 discs removed during surgery. This is Disc Dysbiosis. These bacteria form biofilms. These protective shields make traditional antibiotics ineffective and create a reservoir for chronic inflammation and matrix decay. Modic changes in the end plates are the radiographic signature of this war. They represent the inflammatory response to subclinical infection and metabolic crisis. We recognize this as chronic discitis, a low-grade, non-pyogenic state where your discs are under siege by systemic biochemical fire and insulin resistance. Sitting is the ultimate stress test. If you can't last 20 minutes, you're not just stiff. Your disc is signaling a metabolic failure of nutrient exchange. Stop treating every back the same. We must phenotype your signal to look beyond the assembly line MRI report provided by radiologists. Axial pain, vertical pain is likely your facets. Horizontal pain, side-to-side pain is likely discogenic, the signal of biological and structural failure. Discogenic pain often mimics radiculopathy. Without phenotyping, doctors chase the wrong shadows, leading to the tragedy of failed back surgery syndrome. Failed back surgery syndrome is often a metabolic crisis that was never addressed. We treat it as a systemic failure of the biological soil, not just a mechanical one. Chronic opioid use leads to endorphin bankruptcy, where the body's natural pain relief system shuts down, creating a cycle of hyperalgesia and systemic pain. We view muscle as the organ of longevity and your primary metabolic sink. Preventing sarcopenia is essential for glucose regulation and spinal structural integrity. The sterile myth is the greatest barrier to recovery. Until we acknowledge the presence of the disc microbiome, we are treating symptoms, not causes. Recovery requires architecting metabolic sovereignty. We must address the biological soil, your insulin, your gut, and your liver, to stop the invasion at its source. Step 0 is terrain optimization. We analyze your biochemistry and fix the soil with interventions like metformin and targeted nutrition before we plant seeds of recovery. If your disc is inoculated, standard care will fail. The Padda protocol treats the entire ecosystem with surgical and biochemical precision. First, gentamicin decontamination. We use high concentrations mixed into contrast to decontaminate the space while we visualize the disc's internal architecture. We look for the microleaks and annular tears that confirm the path of infection. This visualization is critical for mapping the extent of the metabolic breakdown. Second, the 80-2 rule. High-dose, leukocyte-rich PRP provides a potent built-in antibacterial shield for the intradiscal space. These concentrated white blood cells are your internal defense. They actively hunt the bacteria hiding in the disc's matrix, preventing further colonization. We then introduce the Wolverine stack. Peptides like BPC-157 and CJC-1295 to modulate the inflammatory response and signal rapid structural repair. Mitochondrial health is critical. Peptides like MOTC restore cellular energy, allowing the disc cells to rebuild the matrix once the infection is cleared. We use GHK copper to modulate over 4,000 genes, prioritizing collagen synthesis and structural integrity over inflammatory signaling pathways. For longevity, we look to apidolon to modulate the telomerase and address the Hayflick limit, ensuring that the cellular environment can sustain long-term regeneration. Remember, pain is not the diagnosis, it is the signal of a biological mismatch between your modern environment and your ancestral biochemistry. The Padda protocol isn't a treatment, it's a disruption. We reject the assembly line failure and architect a new model of systemic clinical sovereignty. I am Dr. Gurpreet Singh Padda. As your clinical commander, I am here to help you navigate the metabolic and biological war zone of chronic pain. Visit us at regen.md in St. Louis, the gateway to regeneration. Take radical personal responsibility for your health. Let's start the audit today. Because at the Padda Institute, we don't just treat pain, we architect sovereignty. PainMD.tv.